Hello everyone. So in this video, we will be discussing depreciation. So basically, depreciation is the decrease in value of physical property with the passage of time. So basically, for example, if you bought a car for 3 million pesos, and probably by the following years, let's say 3 to 5 years from now, it won't have the same value anymore. Meaning to say, the 3 million that you bought now will not be the same on the following years because the value will depreciate, meaning to say the value will decrease. Let's say probably it will just become 1 million in the next 3 years or 5 years. So that is what we call depreciation. We also have the book value. It is the worth of property as shown on the accounting records of an enterprise. We also have the salvage or resale value. It is the price that can be obtained from the sale of the property after it has been used. So let's say for example, you bought a car for 3 million, and on for the next 5 years you will just be selling your car with the worth of 1 million. So that is what we call the salvage value. We also have the scrap value, which is the amount of property it would sell if it is disposed of as a junk. So now there is a formula in solving for depreciation. We have here the book value or the BVM that is equivalent to FC or the first cost minus the DM. So we also have the DL, which is equivalent to FC minus SB, and the representation of these variables here is seen from here. So BVM is equivalent to the book value of a property at any time M. DM is the total depreciation of a property at any time M. DL is the total depreciation at the end of its useful life, and FC is the first cost, and SV is the salvage or scrap value. So there are a lot of ways or there are a lot of methods in solving for depreciation, but in this video we will be discussing one of those methods. So in this video we will be discussing straight line method in still under depreciation. Straight line method is a method which assumes that the loss in value is directly proportional to the age of the property. So we have here the additional equations or formulas that we will be using in solving for straight line method. So we have, it is said here that the depreciation 1 is equivalent to depreciation 2. That is just equivalent. And in order for us to get the depreciation value, we have FC minus SB all over L, where FC is the first cost, SB is the salvage or scrap value, and L is the useful life in years. DM or D sub M or is equivalent to MD or M is the year, D is the depreciation at any year. We also have the DL, which is equivalent to L times D. L is the useful life in years, and D is the depreciation at any year. So let's start here with one example. A machine has an initial cost of 50,000. So meaning to say we have FC is equivalent to 50,000 and a salvage value of 10,000. So we have our SB is equivalent to 10,000 after 10 years. So L here is our 10 years. That is the useful life in years. And using straight line method of depreciation, A, what is the annual depreciation? So annual depreciation is just equivalent to our D. So we have the formula earlier of D, which is equivalent to FC minus SV all over L. So plugging in the values that we have FC is 50,000, we have SB which is 10,000, that is divided by our L which is 10. So basically if you calculate this one, this is equivalent to 4,000 pesos. And that is for our A. And now let's move on to our B. It says here, what is the book value after 5 years? So we are looking for the book value after 5 years. So meaning to say that is BVM at M is equivalent to 5 years. So BVM is already the equation of the or the formula of BVM was already given earlier, and BVM is said to be equivalent to BVM is equivalent to FC minus DM. But we don't know the result or the value of our DM yet, so we need to solve that first. And DM is said to be equivalent to M times D, right? So we have M is equivalent to 5, so we have 5. And our D is said to be equivalent to 4,000. And this 5 times 4,000 is just equivalent to 20,000 pesos. So after we got the DM, then we can already solve for our BVM. So BVM now is equivalent to 50,000 pesos minus 20,000. That is equivalent to 30,000 pesos. Meaning to say, after 5 years, the 50,000 will just become 30,000. Next is we need to solve for C, which is what is the total depreciation after 3 years. So we are looking for the total depreciation after 3 years. So that is DL at M is equivalent to 3. So the formula for DL is said to be equivalent to L times D. So DL is just equivalent to L times D, and we already know our L, but it says here that it's 3 at 3 years, so 3 times D, which our D earlier is 4,000. So that is just equivalent to 12,000. So basically, after 3 years, the total depreciation of 50,000 is 12,000 pesos. So this is now our DL. Another example that we have here is an engineer bought an equipment of 500,000 pesos. He spent an additional amount of 30,000 pesos for installation and other expenses, and the salvage value is 10% of the first cost. If the book value at the end of 5 years is 291,500 pesos, using straight line depreciation, compute the life of the equipment in years. So basically, we are looking for our L here. We are looking for the useful life of our equipment. So let's start by identifying our given. So again, we have the first cost, which is equivalent to 500,000 pesos. And it says here that he spent an additional amount of 30,000. So meaning to say 500,000 plus 30,000. So our first cost is 530,000 pesos. Next is the salvage value. The salvage value is said to be 10% of our first cost. So meaning to say 530,000 multiplied by 0.1 or the 10%. So that is just equivalent to 53,000. So our salvage value is 53,000. And the book value at the end of 5 years, so our BV at 5 is equivalent to 291,500. Now, we need to determine again what is the life of the equipment, compute the life of the equipment in years. So basically, we are looking for our L here. So in order for us to get our L, we need to make use of the available values that we have here. And as we know, the only formula that we can get L, or we can get the formula of L, is we have D is equivalent to FC minus SV over L. But we cannot get D because we don't have the value of our L. So meaning to say this equation has two unknowns. Now, we can find or we can solve for other formulas that we had earlier in order for us to come up with our D. And we have our dm is said to be equivalent to m times d, right? But we don't know our dm and we don't know our d yet. So I think it is better that we can use the formula of our dm first. And dm is just equivalent to fc minus bvm. And we already know the value of our BVM, we already know the value of our FC, meaning to say we can already use or we can already solve for our DM. So DM is just equivalent to FC is 530,000 minus our BVM at 5 years, which is 291,500. So we can already get our DM here. So we have 238,500. And from here, we can already solve for this one in order for us to solve our D. So, substituting the value of our DM, we have 238,500. That is equivalent to M, which is 5, and D, which is missing. So, we'll just divide both sides by 5. So, our D now is equivalent to 47,700. So from that, we can already solve for our L because we already have the value of our SV, we already have the value of our FC, and we already have the value of our D. So we have 47,700 that is equivalent to FC, which is 530,000 minus our SV, which is 53,000, and that is divided by L. So basically, our L is equivalent to 10 years. So this is how we solve for other example of our straight line method. So basically, you just have to find or you just have to use the given values that you have in order for you to come up or in order for you to find the values of the missing or the unknown values or unknown variable. So that is for the example for our second example. Next example we have here, a machine which cost 10,000 was sold as a scrap after being used for 10 years. So a machine which cost 10,000, so meaning to say our FC is equivalent to 10,000, and it was sold as scrap after being used for 10 years. So L is equivalent to 10. The scrap value is 500, so our SV is 500. Determine the total depreciation at the end of 5 years. So we are looking for our DL at M is equivalent to 5. So in order for us to solve this one, we already know that the formula of our DL in order for us to get the DL is just equivalent to um, L times D. But since we are looking for at M is equal to 5, so we can replace this by M times D. This is short D. But we don't know the value of our D yet, so meaning to say we need to solve for our D first. So the depreciation is equivalent to 10,000 minus our SV, which is 500, all over our L, which is 10. So basically our D is equivalent to 950 pesos. So after we got the 950 pesos, then we can already substitute that here. So our DL now is 5 times 950. So that is equivalent to 4,750. So meaning to say the 10,000 has already depreciated to 4,750 after 5 years. The last example that we have for this method is an equipment has salvage value of 1 million. So we have SV is equivalent to 1 million. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. At the end of 50 years. So L is 50. The straight line depreciation charge is 2 million. So the depreciation charge is 2 million. A, we need to find what is the first cost of the machine. So we are looking for the FC. So let's solve our A first. So in order for us to solve our A, then we already have the value, we already have the formula of our D, which is D is equivalent to FC minus SV all over L. We already have the value of our L, we already have the value of our SV, and the value of our D. So meaning to say, from this, we can already solve our value of FC. So we have 2 million for the D, we have 2 million, that is equivalent to FC, which is a known, and minus SV, which is 1 million. Divide that by L, which is 50. So basically, our FC is just equivalent to 101 million, or let's say 101. This is our FC now. So let's box this one. Next is letter B. What is the book value after 25 years? So we are looking for the BV at 25. And what is the formula of our BV? So we have BVM, BV25 is equivalent to FC minus DM. But we don't know the value of our DM, so we need to solve for that first. So DM is just equivalent to M times D. And it says here that we need to find our BVM at 25 years. So our M is 25 and our D is the given earlier, which is 2 million. I'll just write 2M here. And that is now equivalent to 50 million. I'll just write 50M. So after we got the DM, after we solve for the DM, then we can already solve for the BVM. So for the BVM, we have BVM is equivalent to FC, which is 101 million, minus our DM, which is 50 million. So meaning to say our BVM is equivalent to 51 million. So this is now our value. Next item is letter C, which is at what year will its total depreciation will be 30 million. So we are looking for the year. So from this, we have the formula of our DL, which is L times D. So it is said that total depreciation is 30 million. So meaning to say we have 30M is equivalent to L times our D, which is 2 million, right? So divided both sides by 2 million, 2 million, then our L is equivalent to 15 years. So that's it for this video. That's it for this discussion. It's under depreciation for straight line method. So I hope you learned something from this video, and I'll see you on my next videos.